Beyond the Wild.
That's beautiful.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We got full boat tonight. Jason Loftus coming to us from wonderful Utah. Jason, how we doing?
I'm doing really good.
Jason's reserved tonight. His voice is sultry and smooth, but he's kind of reserved a little bit.
No, I'm actually trying to figure out the volume level on this thing. The other night when we were on, it was like blasting. I was hitting the yellow bar every time I talked, and tonight it's not. I don't know what I'm doing on my end that's causing that. So, but anyways, that's stuff that the folks on the podcast and listening don't really care to hear about.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, now that he brought it up, the yellow bar is just down the street from his house. It stays open only till midnight.
You're not supposed to tell everybody, Ron.
Mark Raycroft.
Yes, sir.
How you
no
doing?
Yellow bar here. It's
No
the
yellow bar.
the red bar. It's the red line, like on a motorcycle or on the RPMs. Good, man. Good. Had a great weekend trip up north to relatives' cottage, 5 hours north here. Dropped 10 degrees off the temperature. Sat in a woodland river, Tyson Hepner style. It was cool, but not as cold as that guy does. One of these days, maybe.
Polar plunge.
But fun, yeah. So it was a great break, and there's just something about the northern forest that has a different aroma, different atmosphere, and it was nice to be there. What about you, Ron?
Well, I'm not even going to. When you said aroma, I was telling our guest, who we'll introduce here in a minute, we've had 2 weeks of near 100-degree weather and no air conditioning. The air conditioning went out in the office. My office in particular is corner that's all window, so it's like a solar wall right there, and it is not good. I literally cannot move without papers sticking to me because I'm sweating all day. It's pretty crazy. And the aroma that you just discussed, not good either.
Yeah, sweat lodge and work aren't supposed to be the same space.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's supposed to be, yeah.
I mean, having sauna benefits is pretty nice, but not while you're at work.
No, not during the workday for sure. Right. There's some advantages to having a sauna in the wintertime, but midsummer I'm not a big fan. I would gladly go sit in the stream, Mark, like you were discussing.
I don't think either one of you could handle like Tyson Hepner level though.
I'm not sure I could. Honestly, I would take the dive for sure, but I don't know that I'd be breathing on the other end of it.
I would love to be there to video when your head reached the water.
Slow-mo.
That would be a whole lot of
you may not surf
deep breaths. Yeah.
Short and rapid.
Yeah. So our guest tonight comes from almost the same country as Tyson. Mitch Decock. How are you, Mitch?
Doing great.
You're actually the other half of a tandem.
That's true. So very good friends with Danny Coyne, and a couple podcasts ago you guys had him on, and I was laughing. I wanted to talk, as I was listening to it. It's the first time for me because I'm a long time listener of the podcast. I wanted to chime in, but I was just grinning ear to ear, just enjoying that. So yeah, appreciate the invite. Very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Now's your chance to chime in. Anything you wanted to say about Danny, we'll make sure you have the opportunity.
Any corrections? Yeah.
It's a benefit of going second, right?
Right.
That's a fact. I mean, there's nothing saying we wouldn't have him on again, so be careful. But
sounds good. Well, he was describing me in that one story, and I think it was like he was saying, I said, "Oh, are we looking for wabbits?" And I said, "Oh, making me look like Elmer Fudd or something."
That is true. You should have heard the stuff he was saying about you when we were done recording. So
When it comes to us, it was all good.
I'm well known for my ability to stir the pot, Mitch. So just take that for what you will.
That's funny.
So, Mitch, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get started with in wildlife photography? Because talking to you before the show, your background is kind of unique. It's maybe a little bit similar to mine, not
Yeah.
completely, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was working in finance and going to university. And so I went down to Utah, actually, Jason, and Arizona to do hiking for 3 weeks in between this kind of university and internship. Did this thing with my dad. It was really fun. We were sleeping in the vehicle, talk about hot and sweaty, getting up and doing, these 20-kilometer hikes. And I was really into backcountry camping. Multi-day stuff, and I did love wildlife. Like I loved watching wildlife programs. I grew up around wildlife, and I ended up saying to my dad, "Can we go to Yellowstone on the way home?" I thought he would say no. He likes to kind of time his route home and get back as quickly as possible, and he was excited about the idea. So we went and did 3 days. And when I was there, I had my Nikon D800. Also loud, like the D850. And I had the 24 to 70 millimeter for just kind of landscape stuff and for hiking around. And I remember just being in awe of Yellowstone, just the amount of wildlife. And I saw wolves, grizzlies. I saw this one with her cubs, and she laid back against a log, and she was nursing. And I'm sitting there trying to get photos with my 24 to 70 millimeter. From a very safe distance, from very far away. There's a big crowd, it's not like photographing in Canada. There was a ton of people there. And the ranger, he had asked everybody to kind of stay behind a line. And I think a lot of people kind of passed that line. I had respected what he said. I just thought, oh, okay, that's fair. I'll stay behind the line. So I'm sitting there with my 24 to 70 doing these, where the bear would be just kind of like a pin in the frame. And I just can't believe what I'm seeing. Like it's just so incredible. I'm so excited. Grizzlies are my favorite. And he comes and taps me on the shoulder as everybody's kind of taken off from the scene. And he says to me, how would you feel if I gave you my lens to use for a little bit? So he went back to his vehicle. Yeah, pretty cool story. Pretty cool model of behavior, I think, for a ranger as well. And he literally came back. I don't know to this day what he gave me. It must have been a 500, 600 millimeter, and helped me switch lenses. Honestly, I didn't even know how to switch lenses. Like I just put on my 24-70, and just that's where it lived. It was the only lens I had, and he helped me put it on, and I looked through, and I just wow, filling the frame almost with this mom and these cubs nursing, and I guess there was some shadow from the trees, and so that's why a lot of people took off, and they just thought, oh, the moment's over, the light's wrong. And meanwhile, it was just me and my dad and the ranger, and just having the time of my life watching this and a few stragglers. So as soon as I got home, I went and bought the 200 to 500 5.6 and the D850. So I was in 2018 in spring, and the D850 I think came out just before that, and away I went. That's the direct story for sure.
We all had that combo, all 3 of us, all 4 of us had that combo. It was a fantastic option. So I'm sorry, that kind of fed right into this ongoing dilemma with one of us and park rangers, but
I don't know who you're talking about.
Jason has never had that opportunity to borrow a ranger's lens.
Surprise.
Hey, you know what? It's unlikely, but if that, he had a lens. So, I mean, he was a wildlife photographer. So if that ranger is listening to this, please reach out to me, because I owe you so much. I mean, maybe I would have stumbled upon this. I think I was heading in that direction. But I think as soon as I put on the lens and saw through, I needed to do it. So, but yeah, it's definitely interesting with the way parks are nowadays and the dynamic there, and maybe some shifts. And I just love that he did that, and I love what you guys are doing as well with young people and young kids and teaching them to get into wildlife photography. So that's great.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a friend of the podcast that is a retired ranger, and I would not be surprised one bit if it was him. But we'll talk after.
Okay, cool. That would be great.
Well, what an incredible story, though. I mean,
that's neat.
I'd send him a print for sure.
Oh yeah,
if you
any
can find
rangers are out there listening. This is what good looks like.
Right.
That's the reason I was excited to tell the story for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It's awesome.
And I've had some really good encounters with rangers too. I want to clear this up real quick because this always gets brought up. I've had a couple of encounters, right? And I don't want all the rangers out there that hopefully are maybe listening to this going, "This clown." Next time I see him, that's how this happens: is they hear Ron's stories and
it's my turn.
Yeah. No, but seriously, I've had some incredible encounters with rangers. I really have, and they're doing a tough job. So, in all fairness, there's no question it's a tough job. So,
it's so awesome to hear how different people find this passion, this adventure, right, of wildlife photography. And this was, I mean, it makes sense. It's through a ranger. I mean, they're there to help people, and I mean, it was super generous of him to share the lens. Good on him for doing that, and wonderful. I've never heard this discovery path before, so very cool.
You must have felt bad for me. Pity is powerful, right? With the 24/7.
Yeah, but also I can say that every time I've been in a situation. So we had with my grandson last spring when he saw his first grizzly bear. Jason was actually in the park at the same location, but he was on the other side of this bear jam. And we were like up front and center and just listened. I made my daughter and her boyfriend, and then of course I had my grandson listen to everything he said. If he said move back, we slid back, and had a similar experience in that bear was going to cross. He knew my grandson was in there, and that was the first bear he'd ever seen. He knew he was going to cross right in front of us, and he said, "Hey, could I talk you into just putting your nose out here in traffic and just kind of blocking everybody?" I said, "Yes, sir, you can. Be happy to help." And I think if you listen to them, they see that, they notice that. All those people kind of pushing the boundaries. Sometimes they're probably not going to get to borrow the lens ever. And
No.
he saw that you had a desire and a passion to do that. So I think you probably won some points there. And yeah, again, like Mark said, good on him for making the extra effort to make sure that you enjoyed the encounter.
Yeah, what a wonderful thing to do. So, yeah, and to echo Jason's and all of your remarks, I've met some really wonderful rangers since then too. One funny encounter where the ranger needed bear spray. There's a grizzly and asked if anyone had some, so I tossed out some bear spray. So she was pretty thankful. So yeah, lots of fun moments in the field with them too.
Whoa! Well, you don't just get to like breeze over that one. Like, she needed the bear spray. Like, did she use it?
Well, there was a couple having a picnic by the river, and so she wanted to escort this couple back to get their stuff. They got interrupted by a grizzly, and she was kind of looking around at us photographers, like she wasn't sure where the bear was, and it had kind of gone off into the woods. And she said, "Does anyone have any bear spray?" So I just passed that over.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was funny.
I thought you were going to say she ran out and had to keep going. So she,
yeah,
it was not deployed. Yeah. No.
I've never heard of a scenario where 2 cans were required for good or bad.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
If you're on a mission to find wildlife, consider this cool product from our sponsor. Hey, listen in. If you're still strapping your expensive camera to your neck with a flimsy strap that looks like more fashion than function, congrats, you're living on the edge. But hey, If you'd rather not risk turning your camera gear into a pile of broken dreams, then maybe, just maybe, check out Cotton Carrier Camera Carrying System. You can carry on living dangerously, or you can carry gear safe and sound with cottoncarrier.com. And while you're in there, use code BTW10 for a 10% discount on anything found on the website. cottoncarrier.com. Oh yeah, now back to it. So Mitch, you guys, I mean, we'll get into your favorite subject there, but you guys get out quite a bit, and it sounds like, I mean, I don't know for certain, it sounds like you guys do quite a bit together, you and Danny.
Yeah.
Before we get into your favorite, what's the best experience you guys have had out on a dual excursion?
Yeah, we've gone out a lot together. I think Danny threw out some numbers for winter. I think he was saying 36 or something like that for this last winter. That wasn't, I wasn't able to go for 36. I've got the two young girls at home and couldn't quite make that kind of number happen. But the year before, I was out for 16. So full days, where we're driving out into Forest Service roads, and it's not like we're kind of hitting the Forest Service road when it gets light. Like, we're going in the dark, very deep in Forest Service roads, sometimes an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before, sunrise. So we're getting out there. And then always coming back in the dark as well. So yeah, we'd spend a ton of time together. And we continue to, we have a lot of fun to this day, to last week even. We were out having fun, but, that what Danny mentioned on the podcast, that was the first lynx encounter I had. And this is something, I mean, everybody wants to see a lynx, right? But for me, it had become a bit of an obsession, a bit of a joke, to be honest, around, with friends and around the neighborhood. You go to a party and I'd wind up talking about it, saying, I'm really excited, I'm looking for lynx. And then they'd ask to see pictures, and there were none, telling them how much time I'm spending out there. And so I was starting to feel a little goofy. My quest started even before Danny's, and then we really honed it together. I just kind of walked aimlessly through the mountains, looking for these cats, just tracking bobcats. I'm in Kelowna, BC, in the Okanagan, so we have lots of bobcats that come into the valley when it snows. So I just be kind of walking around for 10, 20 kilometers, just following tracks, just trying for years. And so when that moment happened and it came together and we saw those cats, there's nothing that compares to that. It was emotional. I didn't get, you get that fever, that they refer to in hunting where you start to shake. I stayed steady. It was eerie. It was surreal. And, that was the best. That was the best. And we've had other encounters since then. And I mean, it's not like it loses its allure. It's still very exciting. You're hiking and you see one walk out of the bush, and it's just incredible. So, or, you might be driving down a Forest Service road and there it is. And yeah.
How about solo?
Solo. Yeah. For solo, actually it's goats, I think, for me. So I think on a recent podcast you were speaking about some people play up like the work they do to see goats and sheep, and I was laughing about that because I understand that there's so many different places where you can almost go on the roadside, or you can go on the roadside and you can see these wild sheep and mountain goats, and that's wonderful. It's great that all different people with different abilities can have access to the wildlife, right? I love that. But yeah, I mentioned that like before wildlife photography, I was really into backcountry camping. I still try to do it when I can. And on this one occasion, I think we were at least 50, 60 kilometers into the hike. So it would be like a big, 100 plus kilometer multi-day, 5-day thing here in British Columbia. I don't want to reveal the location, but sleeping at the base of glaciers. You can hear them calving in the middle of the night kind of thing and roaring, just beautiful places, right? And we did this day hike to get to an alpine valley. And I had heard from hikers the day before that around 4:00, the mountain goats came down. They described this scene where they just kind of came down into the alpine meadow and started frolicking in the river, drinking in the river, like 40 to 50 goats. And I had my 200 to 500 and my D50 with me. And so when we got to the river and that scene, it was just too amazing. I said to my friends and my wife, can you summit without me? Because I'd like to just hang around here. It was maybe 2:33, and I said I just want to give it a chance. They thought I was crazy because the summit, to this day, I've never been, but the pictures look pretty good. So I was trading something pretty special, and I just had a hunch. I thought it would happen again, and so I sat down in this tall grass. It's really spongy meadow, super vibrant green, flowers everywhere. I'm getting eaten alive by bugs. I cooked up what I call space spaghetti meal. My friend patented that, the dehydrated, and that just, brings in the bugs even more. So it's just absolutely caked. I really didn't have any adequate protection because I was just, you're always hiking. So you're not used to kind of just sitting down. And so, yeah, I waited like an hour, 2 hours. And then sure enough, I look up and I could see a goat starting to come down, and then another one. And they were coming from like different all around me, basically surrounding me. And I'm just kind of hidden in this tall grass. And yeah, they walked across the river. I have a shot of that on my Instagram. A nice billy walked across the river. But I have dozens of shots, thousands, that I've never shared. But lots of great shots that would have been portfolio shots. It's just that billy was so impressive. But I basically watched them all go single file across the river. One walked right up to me and kind of discovered me, and then wasn't bothered and just went away, and watched the kids frolic. I actually don't really sell many prints, but I have a friend who's going to be buying a print of the kid up there. Just loved the scene and the meadow and everything. So I was just sharing that with her this last week. But yeah, that moment was pretty special, and that place was pretty special. I can still kind of just see it, and yeah. Nothing like getting up high.
That's
Well,
awesome.
and I'd say 50 miles that's pretty good, or 50 kilometers, sorry, is pretty good for finding the goats. That's a haul. Those are earned photos, no question.
Yeah, and this is the backpackers would appreciate this. So I used to be, maybe not as much anymore. My knee's not great or whatever, but I used to be the pack mule basically for the group, and I'd convince people to go with me. And I didn't on this. This was a day hike, that you work off with a smaller pack at that stage, right? You leave at your campsite. But I think I had something silly like 85 pounds with me with the dehydrated meals.
Wow.
And a bunch of the group announced when we got to the top that they were hoping to lose weight this trip, so they weren't going to eat any of that. So I got to hike down with all that as well. I'll just never forget that. Brought up all this food and then just basically hiked down with it.
Boy,
Yeah.
I'd been like, you're eating it. I hauled it up this mountain. You're eating it.
Yeah.
That might have been a different conversation.
Yeah.
Like Jason said. Oh no.
Or you're carrying it down.
Yeah. Pro tip: is your backcountry camping, try to estimate roughly what you need to eat. You don't want too little. You don't want that much. Yeah.
Funny.
That's awesome. Mark, you were going to say something a minute ago. Caught you right in the middle of taking a
it's
drink.
all right.
Sorry.
It's good. No, it was back to the cats, but I just quickly, that mountain goat experience. I mean, that's one of the best I've ever heard. I can visualize that with wildflowers in summertime, crossing a creek and just you there. How pristine. Amazing. That's like a career
Yeah.
celebration, a life experience, right?
Yeah, I think it was pretty special. Like, even if I just took pictures of the meadow, I think I would have been happy. Like, the meadow was so nice. Yeah, I'll follow up with you guys and share some of those shots. But
YouTube.
yeah.
Where we are looking at it, we'll be on. Yeah, it's but it says something that you just sat still to a degree, made yourself part of the environment, and was patient, and it happened around you. What I was going to say earlier was cat related on a bit of humor as far as working back logging roads. I've had many friends over the years say the best way to look for a wildcat is to watch your rearview mirror as you drive down these back roads, because they'll sit and wait, and if they're going to cross, they let the vehicle go by and then they cross. But obviously, it's better to find them before that happens. But yeah, watch those rear views as well. They're pretty.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Usually they're not that timid, right? It's just a matter of discovering them in their huge territory, wherever they might be. And yeah, very cool. The effort that you guys put in, I think it's great to add you on as part of, have you on the podcast to complement Danny's and his stories and the adventure you guys share together.
Yeah, he's a wonderful person. I think he mentioned he reached, or I reached out to him on Instagram. And basically, my grandfather was a hunter, not a trophy hunter, but spent like 100 days of the year in the bush. And I used to go out with him. He passed away, and I kind of knew there was a safety component there where, you know, I'd go out with him type thing. Obviously, I felt comfortable going on my own a lot of the time. But there's certain things that you do, like where, you know, it's nice to have a person around, or even my dad, you know, go hiking or a good friend. And I just didn't have that network here in Kelowna. So I took to Instagram, and I was basically hunting for a buddy to go out with me, to try to do these kind of things, because to me, it's where it's at. Like, I'm very excited about the adventure component, and the quest and the challenge. And it's just you got to be real careful when you're doing stuff like this. Like, there's days where I went snowshoeing, and I never did it again afterwards, but you count on following your tracks back to the road, but you're so excited because you're following a cat. And you look back, and of course it's a snow day, because you want to go out when the snow's going down. So if you see a fresh track, you know that you're close, and you look back and you start to realize, oh, my tracks are kind of getting a little obscure. They're kind of hard to find your way back, and there's so many fallen trees and things like that. So yeah, just to have like a friend to go out with and just have fun with too, like just enjoy this. And maybe that's a pro tip too, is for the listeners, like, unless you're really trying to avoid folks, I get that. If you want the peace and quiet and you have a busy life, but if you can find somebody locally and reach out to them, you never know. You might make a great friend, and that might be the best thing you could ever do for your wildlife photography as well. Because I think that we both like accelerated each other's progress, if you will, and just elevated the enjoyment factor as well. Like, you know, that's a lot of hours to spend alone on a vehicle and Forest Service roads. So to have a buddy to go with, it's great.
That's the one comment that I was going to make while I was listening to you is, number one, you push each other as far as, you know, with what you guys are doing, you push each other a little bit and maybe stick it out a little bit longer than you would, which has paid off for you both. But also photographically, yeah, you push each other creatively as well, and you get the opportunity to try to. The reason you push each other is you're trying to one up each other. Really, you get a little bit competitive sometimes, and it's who's going to put themselves in the position to get the shot. I mean, Jason has got a great eye and tries to put himself in the position where he's going to maximize the opportunity. And so, like when we were in Yellowstone, I end up buried in the snow. I don't know how many times, just trying to get somewhere where Jason wasn't, get a different angle. And I end up with this big bison bull at like 6 feet walking by me, and I just have to lay there and can't move because he's on the road. And then I can't move because everybody else is shooting, because they are all on the road and can move freely. So I just had to lay still. But no, you do. You just push each other, both boundary wise and creatively. And I think it's always better.
I love the sharing.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, Jason. The sharing, I mean, that's to a degree too, but the sharing component, we're talking about what happened or the next day or planning or photography. I mean, there's still, even if you're best friends, you come from different backgrounds. And I've had many close photographer friends over the years I've enjoyed trips with, and it's just I love the company for all kinds of elements of sharing. And at this point, it's not. I mean, I don't. Not. I mean, pushing is in my own head for composition something different than I've done before, or experienced different than before, and embracing those opportunities. But I'd rather, and I totally 100% appreciate Ron's perspective. I mean, it's motivational. There's, I had a hiking buddy, Todd, last year. We did, I don't know how many kilometers with barren ground caribou one day. And I know we kept each other going, and that was great company. But there are other times where it's just sharing it and seeing the experience of the other person too. But it's all about building that friendship. You've got that common ground and those amazing stories to reminisce with each other forever now. So, I think Danny said that on the podcast too. Was something about the favorite memories being shared.
Yeah, it's come up a lot recently. That's what I was going to say, Mark, and you just hit on it big time. You said it well, so we won't dwell on it. But yeah, it always is better to have it shared with somebody. I think we all answered it that way, and it's just nice to be able to go back and reminisce and talk to somebody about that experience and remember it. And it's great when you have it on your own too, don't get me wrong, but that's just kind of lives in your head and with your own, with yourself. And even when you share it with somebody else and tell them about it, it's not the same. But when you have somebody that's right there with you and experienced it with you, then it's even more exciting when you call that back up and talk about it, So.
Yeah, 100%. And Danny wasn't big on going to the parks, so I kind of like doing both. Like I've been in the parks, but I probably spent more time outside of the parks, just kind of doing my own thing. But he wasn't big on it. So, and I honestly, I like the company. So I would, if I was going to some big Canadian parks, I'd invite friends, childhood friends, brought people along. I had a friend fly out from the UK and come see grizzlies with me. And I mean, it just adds to it. Like their excitement, I feed off it. Not like I'm losing excitement. I love this, and I'm pretty sure I always will. But yeah, to bring people along and they've never seen a grizzly before, and they're sitting in the back of the vehicle and you're taking photos and you share that, it's also very, very wonderful. But there is something about going and hanging out with another wildlife photographer. I think we can all agree, like if we're taking family or friends who aren't wildlife photographers, they have a limit, right? They don't want to sit around as long, and they're not willing to, to the last story, they're not going to sit in the grass and get eaten by bugs and be covered in bug bites for the shot. And, once the moment happens, they're going to be like, okay, that was wonderful, wanting to move on. And meanwhile, we're thinking like, okay, that was amazing. What's next? Keep going. So it's great. It's great that Danny and I have connected, and I'm sure we'll continue to shoot together. Hopefully until we're old men, very old men. We just spent a lot of time actually in a park with another person who did a wonderful thing for me, who kind of mentored me, and now Danny as well. His name is Murray O'Neill, and he's 86 now, and he spent a couple days with us just hanging out. Do you know Murray, Mark?
Yeah, I do know Murray. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just wonderful. Like
okay.
He's a fun guy. How do you know Murray?
Same age.
Yeah.
High school together.
Oh, Ron, you're so quick.
Yeah, you were in the hospital at the same time as infants, and we looked at each other and we just knew it's like bears. You're bears. And we just hit it off right there.
That's funny.
No, I've known Murray for a lot of years. He's a great guy. He's a digital Pentax man, right? That's different. Yeah. And he loves it, and he's always fun to see and talk to. So yeah, we go back.
Yeah.
Not right to the nursery room, but
yeah, I got to know Murray I think it was about 5 years ago, and this is when I first started going to the parks as well. And I think I was just about to get Instagram. I don't think I had Instagram. I was just doing wildlife photography, sharing with friends and family. And I saw him pull out his lens this park. And I said, well, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm going to go walk around here and just see what I can find. And we chatted, and he showed me some pictures of grizzly bears, and yeah, he was really generous with his time, and I joined him, and that mentorship is really cool. But we saw him again this spring, and yeah, we spent a lot of time together. He imparted a lot of wisdom. We even went for beers after, and it was super inspiring to see somebody at that age who's so driven, just loving it, working not just to get the shot, but just the experiences still. And long story short, to wrap that up, I hope Danny and I could be old men together and just good banter and going out and still doing this. So yeah.
Well, let's expand, because we talk a lot about mentorship and finding a mentor if you're trying to learn, or as you're trying to learn. So let's kind of expand on that a little bit. How did that meeting turn into a mentoring relationship?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think, yeah, professionally, it is important to have a mentor. I'm not doing this professionally, but yeah, it's a beneficial thing here as well, right? Like, I think Danny spoke about the exposure to you guys, how inspiring it is just through the podcast. It's a form of mentorship in a way, just listening to the podcast. Like, I listen to the podcast as I'm driving around in my truck all the time. But in this specific case, yeah, I just went up to speak to him, and he was just really excited to share his photos. He had an iPad, he pulled them up, and he started scrolling, and I didn't know what I was going to see. And then when I saw it, it was just kind of breathtaking. Like, I'm thinking, this is one of the greats of his era. I believe he's been published quite a lot. And then just started asking him questions like what was it like before, or how did you do that, or asking behavioral questions as well about bears. He's shared all about bears, and if you're in one of these situations where you're in a park, you might see a person a second time, right? It's a bit odd to kind of latch on to a person after just meeting them. But you see each other in a second location, and maybe you see each other in a third location. And at that stage, you've chatted several times, and all of a sudden you're friends. Like, let's go. Can I go for dinner with you and hear a little bit more about your experiences? And it just kind of snowballs from there. But I think, not everybody, but I think that the vast majority of people would want to take the time to share. And even I, do my best to share with folks way younger than myself, like teenagers who are looking to get into this. I have lots of time. So there you go.
I think it in my opinion, it always feels like it works better and it's more rewarding, I guess, or whatever, if it kind of just happens naturally. You know what I mean? It's funny you're talking about Murray, and I immediately think of Bill Allard for my situation. It was very similar, So yeah. And it's just, folks are willing to share if you just approach them with the right attitude, and don't expect something. Just kind of build that friendship and that relationship over time. Like you said, I think that's great. Love that you're giving back too. You know what I mean? I think it's important for all of us to just kind of give back and help others. That's part of the fun, is seeing other people progress, that you've been a part of their development and their progress, so
100%. And you joked about competitiveness with Danny, and like, of course we have fun, and just like you guys we're competitive in certain ways, but we've both discussed that we're very competitive people in other pursuits, in athletics. We're very, very ultra competitive people, or at work. But this is a space where I'm not looking to compete with others. This is my relaxation. This is my passion. This is maybe I hope like a little bit of a legacy thing that I can have with my kids and otherwise. But yeah, to me, it's not like a fierce competition to get the most unique shot. And anyways, I don't think Danny and I could take the same shot if we tried. It's actually funny. I've left shoots with him before. I haven't admitted this before. I'm sure Danny's listening. But I've wondered, is he going to post one? Because that one was good. That moment was good. And then he'll post something, and it'll be something different. And it's just a little different, like what he likes. And even just being, if you're shoulder to shoulder, hiding at a snowbank, because you just saw a lynx and you're trying to take shots, you can still you can still wind up with completely different things that you found as keepers.
Right.
And especially with the system I'm running, I mean, a lot of blurry photos. So the keepers are too few and far between now. But,
Nikon's kind of known for that, but yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I got to step in.
Oh,
Stepping in.
oh,
now I know I got invited on.
shots fired.
Hold on a minute. Yeah.
Dunked on.
Except he'll still tell you that the D850 is his favorite.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's like a classic car, right? That
Yeah,
sound.
it kind of is at this point. Yeah, really. I really wish I still had mine, to be quite honest. I've
Me
actually
too.
thought about getting a hold of one just to have. So,
Yeah, I wish I hadn't sold that exact setup just to have for company on trips to give to the kids. I mean, and not knocking it. It's still, the image wise, it's there, right? It's just as good. It's the sensors. I don't see any improvement as far as pixel peeping on the Z or Z9 versus the 850. So it's there are other advantages, but you can still make the 850 work marvelously for sure.
yeah.
Nikon,
Mitch, you mentioned-
but
you
we
men-
appreciate Canon as a sponsor. 2/3 of this podcast, shoot Canon.
I love it. Mitch, you said something too, and I think you mentioned it before we were chatting, but I got a kick out of it. How you said you always have a different perspective, and with you and Danny, even when you are shoulder to shoulder, he's always just a little lower than you too. So
That's true.
yeah,
That's true. I am quite a bit taller than Danny, and I've looked over and I've kind of thought, he's ground level, and I've looked at the shots after, and it's gotten a different way. He's gotten a third, and I've got it in half. So, and I was going, I got to get lower. It's anyways. But I will say this: Danny is a cardio machine. He is basically a mountain goat. Like, I don't think he mentioned this on the podcast, but he got really into trail running in the last 2 or 3 years, and he won his age category for like an ultra. So when I'm trying to follow this guy for goats, or even just like following lynx, there's been times I'm like reasonably fit, but where I'm just like, just dying.
you're following his tracks in the snow, hoping they don't fade out. They don't fade out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've never seen anybody scramble cliffs like him, and he's safe about it, but
Sure.
he's incredibly fit and fast, which is fun. It's motivating as well to chase him, basically. Yeah.
It's funny, that kind of brings me full circle on something you mentioned earlier, and I was going to say something, but I held off. But now it just fits well with the competitive side of things. That Ron loves to tell these stories about how I push him out of the way and get in front of him and stuff. But what he doesn't mention is that because of that, he got one of the shots that sells the most in his entire catalog. So just saying, he could thank me, but we'll just let that competitiveness keep going.
When we're old men, Mitch. When we're old men, I might say thank you.
What do
Yeah.
you mean? We are old men. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was talking about like next year.
Oh, next year. Okay, yeah. Now, the competitiveness between each other is it's all in fun. We are always so pumped when each other gets a good experience and gets a great image, The FOMO's real for sure. We all wish we could get them, but we're also super pumped for each other when, when we're successful. So
Can't
totally
get
get
them
it.
all. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You just hope you're not with somebody that ties your hiking boot shoelaces together in knots in the morning before you head out or something. Yeah.
It keeps adding rocks in your pack over the day.
Loosens up the connection on your camera body and your lens. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the main thing for me is if I go on a multi-day kind of trip, doing anything, or a whole season dedicated to something, it's nice to have a memento. So that's the only pressure I feel is like, I'd like a memento to summarize that trip or that year. So really just like the competitiveness with myself mostly.
with yourself, yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. Mine is I always want to come home with a portfolio shot. That's
Sure.
always the goal. And it rarely happens, but it's always the goal. I mean, no, Jason's shaking his head, but I mean, standards get higher, right? The longer you shoot. And so it's harder to come up with one that you think, hey, this could definitely be one of my top 50
Yeah.
of all time or whatever. So that's what I'm constantly striving for. And it doesn't happen just because the scenario doesn't present itself very often. When you have all the elements, you got the beautiful landscape, you've got beautiful subject and great light, and everything comes together, and those moments are few and far between.
Yeah. And I find even like individual bears, it guts me a little bit if I leave and I didn't really get a photo of that bear, because I go, oh, you might not see that bear ever again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of you wants to capture it and capture it well, and just have that locked down. So yeah.
So you early on you mentioned bears are your favorite. So what took you there? We just did an episode very recently on bear photography. So this ties in, and what is it about bears that touched your soul and got you going with them?
Yeah, so I mentioned my grandpa was like a hunter for food, like elk and deer, but he revered bears. He just loved them, and he would talk about these encounters all the time. He had some amazing encounters. He saw cougars with their kittens, and he's sitting there eating his lunch. Like, he had endless amazing stories. So you can't spend a lifetime in the woods and not have those kind of stories, right? But yeah, he really revered grizzlies, and so does my dad. My dad's still around, and we would go on these fishing trips when I was a kid. And they were pretty cool. They were kind of tests of character where. It's funny. I'm going to tell this story. I remember one time we went, and right at the beginning of the trip, we were in the middle of nowhere, and I slid down a bank with my dad, and my grandpa went around with an inflatable raft. And sure enough, the bank that we slid down, we got our fishing rods and everything else, was these underground wasps, and they went up my shorts. I was maybe like 7 years old, and we ran maybe a kilometer, maybe a click with the wasps, like in my shirt, in my shorts, to the river. My dad threw me in the freezing cold river, and I think I was having a reaction to all these stings. And I remember my grandpa going, all right, are we going fishing or what? So jump in the raft and away you go. So kind of these tests of character, you come home and you're walking through the bush, and you've got shorts on, you're covered, and you're bleeding from the thorns and everything else. But like, it was always just, is there going to be a grizzly around the corner kind of thing? And then one of the early times there was, and that was the first time I ever saw a grizzly. We just came around. This is not a park or anything like this. This isn't even a place where local people here would go or know about. Like, it's like a Forest Service road off a Forest Service road off a Forest Service road, and a grizzly stepped out, and it was just beautiful. I remember seeing the hump, and so for me, it's just this thing that's so connected to my youth, and that experience is the first one, but just reinforced with these stories passed down through the family. And I can't get enough of it. Early on, when I was doing some photography in the parks, I had some experiences where I got to be close to, kind of in a safe way, from a vehicle, but a mom with cubs, and I just remember, like, literally losing my breath. I was so excited about it. So to me, they're the ultimate, and something to be respected and protected for sure.
What's your favorite bear encounter?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, the funniest, I did get a photo of split lip on the tracks. That was pretty amazing, because I spent maybe 5 days just driving around looking. I don't know if you know who split lip is, actually. You guys are from the States. Okay. Mark might know. So just a really big bear in the Rockies. It's fairly notorious. And then the other big one is the Boss, who a lot of people know about that one. They're both getting up there. I've heard that they're kind of late 20s, so there's not that much time left. So I go always kind of off season whenever I can. So it was very, very early, kind of like April type thing. And I went looking to see if I could find him, and I found him on the tracks, and I just couldn't believe how big he was. It just blew my mind. There is another story. That's why I got a bit of a grin. I talked to Danny. I think that Danny gave me the green light to share this story. I don't know if his wife is listening.
It doesn't matter whether he gave you the green light or not. We're in full share mode.
Oh boy. Yeah, so I mentioned Murray. Murray had kind of given us a tip that there's a spot that's far and away from parks, way out there, and we had gone to kind of a really remote area in the Alberta foothills, Rockies type thing, and yeah, way off the beaten track. We were looking for bears all day, and we wound up having no luck. Striked out all day. We ended up speaking to one fellow who was kind of a local hunter, fisherman, and he said he was doing up his boots and the biggest grizzly he'd ever seen, and he'd been going there for 60 years. Walked right up to him, and he had to jump into his truck. So that was this spring, and as we were leaving this area, way off in the distance, I spotted, I think, this bear. I mean, it must have been him. And he was just a monster. It's funny that I've mentioned now Split Lip and the boss. Maybe he was that big. And I look back at the photos from far away, and he had one half of his face was very dark, almost black. The other half was blonde. So he's a completely bizarre bear. Never heard of anyone seeing a bear like that, or just very unique. And it wasn't the sun. I double checked. I wasn't going crazy. He had this color disfiguration. And he had all these war wounds on him. And yeah, we were fairly far away, like 400 meters or like half a kilometer. Like, it was a really long ways away. So these are zoomed in photos after the fact. But we went to go see if we could kind of get closer to the river, recognizing that it's a fairly big river. And actually there was a couple cottages nearby. So we were close to those cottages. And as we were walking by, Danny and I almost walked into a mom and her cub, which was a grizzly, which was probably the diciest thing that has ever happened to me, and just completely random because like we had not seen any bears that day. But that kind of stuff can happen, I guess. I mean, it would no different than if you stepped into the woods and go for a walk. But I think that is a very memorable encounter because of how close it was. I mean, the bear was really just behind a bush as we were walking on a trail. So, yeah, so that's fresh on my mind as a very unique, different kind of encounter for sure.
Are you scared of Danny's wife?
I don't know.
We're gonna get this story out.
No, Marina's wonderful. Marina, we were being safe. Like we didn't know, and we never saw the other bear again. We weren't even close to that other bear. We were counting on that body of water. It was kind of like an estuary, actually. So it was like quite a ways. It would have been a shot that would have been cropped anyways. I mean, normally if you're photographing grizzlies, unless you're in Alaska, you don't want to get out of your vehicle at all. But yeah, with the whole estuary and like the river system, it would have been a faraway shot, but it would have been a cool memento. But yeah, just walking right into the mom and the cubs, and they were really beautiful. But that was a big surprise, and it's a reminder to kind of always keep your bear spray, even if you feel like nothing's going to happen, because yeah, you never know. You could bump into a bear,
or you could have to lend it to a park ranger.
There you go.
How did the sow react to you guys? Was that a memorable experience too, or
She ran, and I noticed her first because it was just kind of, we were coming up a little hill, and I could see that she had run from behind a bush, and Danny was still kind of walking, and I don't think he had caught that yet.
So you stopped. You knew it was there. You let Danny keep walking.
Yeah,
that's what I heard, Jason, right there.
I yelled pretty loud. I think he was fairly confused, right? Because the other bear was so far away. There was no way, even if it ran full clip. I mean, we had just got out of our vehicles, and it was literally we got out of our vehicles and we took a few steps into the woods, and she happened to be there. Not berry season, nothing like that. It's not near salmon or anything like that. It's really just a random chance encounter of the strangest kind. But it was fairly exciting, and yeah, so she ran and her cub ran, and that was that. I mean, I think we saw them pop their head out of the bush but we went back to the vehicle right away. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Slowly.
What I heard there,
Yeah.
Jason, going back to your comment was, yeah, I saw the bear run toward my photo buddy, and I prepped my camera to get the shot.
So somewhere in Mitch's files is an image.
Yep. We're going to need that shot that you got of the bear approaching Danny for the YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Oh
then,
boy, now I'm in trouble.
now you're afraid of his wife.
We've had some really fun experiences together. And another, we're very keen to be safe though. Like we've got, I've got kids and we're both married, and we also just like our lives. So we want to be respectful. And I definitely don't fear grizzlies. Like I don't think they're these horrible killing machines or anything like that. Absolutely not. I revere them. I respect them. You just don't want to surprise them, right? Like when doing backcountry camping, there's whole sections on some trips I've done, like a Mount Assiniboine or something like that, where there's very tall grasses and they, mom and cubs are in the area, and you just need to make sure you're hiking in a group and you're making a lot of noise, and more likely than not, nothing will ever happen to you, right? And
right.
There's safe ways to handle encounters, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, we talked about this too on the podcast, right, Mark? I mean, I think you even brought it up where, sometimes just doing what we do, being out in nature, sometimes things just happen, and you can be as safe as you can and do everything you can to try to, other than not have the experience, you can do everything in your power to be safe and take precautions. And, that's all you can do, but we also need to live our lives too, so sometimes things happen, and, we're doing everything we can to try to, avoid those types of situations that could be, fatal or for either us or the bears, right? Then, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just being part of nature. We are part of nature, I think, is the way Mark put it last time.
You never know, right? And anything in life, we could be, I hate to say it, I mean, we have to live our lives, but we could, I drove in my car today or my truck and something could happen. Not my fault. It could still happen. And my portfolio would be 1/5, and do what everybody's comfortable with. But if I hadn't done my adventures all these years, I wouldn't have these experiences, and every one of them cherished and rich, and wouldn't trade it, right? So personally, my choice is not to make decisions based on fear, but common sense and practicality and being careful, but living it, right? I mean, how do you get the best blueberries? It's where you hike. But yeah, so I can hear that, Mitch. I know that you approach it the same way, and that's great. And the experiences that you're having seem wonderfully rich as well. And it was a bear season that we met in the field. I was trying to remember if it was fall, elk, or bear, just because of my mind and busyness. But it was a spring, right? It was a bear trip.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah, and I think that year there were some really amazing cubs, and seeing grizzly cubs is just incredible. Like for people who haven't had these experiences, I just told a bit of a big tale, but that's in many years in the woods, many times backcountry camping, and it's a very safe. You can do it in a very safe way and respectful way, but you can see these cubs and from a safe distance, and watching them play together, watching them climb trees and fall over and wrestle on logs, and like I've seen those things, and I'm sure all of you guys have seen that as well, and that's absolutely breathtaking. It's priceless. It's never going to get old. Yeah. And then to see them, to come back years later, like I did this spring, I did see one of the cubs that was, that I had seen, or two of the cubs that I'd seen several years prior, and they're growing up, and it's pretty cool to see, that they're doing well. So yeah, that's always special for sure.
I think I saw the same cubs this spring. If it was a few years ago, and just the activity of what we were seeing, yeah, it was to reconnect to hear how they're doing and stuff. But yeah, grizzly bear, black bear cubs, photographically in a safe situation, just are so entertaining. Fearless black bear cubs, scurrying up
Yeah.
trees and way out on limbs. Like, what are you guys doing? No problem. They have it hanging off by one paw up again. It's something to watch. And I mean, beyond the photos are a challenge because of how quickly they move and what they're up to. But just watching them is amazing too. So yeah, great summary on bears, Mitch. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Your perspective.
Thanks. Yeah. It's a good example of like moments where I mean, I like that I have the camera because I can share it with people, but at the same time, like it's just really not about the shot. Like I'm not cursing bad light or anything like that. If any day that you get to see something like that, it's just like a cherished day, basically. So yeah.
So before we go, what's next? What's on the list? I think there's a message about hoping for lynx and summer wildflowers. Has that happened?
That's not happened for us yet. We are looking. Looking. Yeah, we're up there looking. Flowers are beautiful this year.
No snow, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
we've
so
got.
much.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and we've had limited fire. I think season. We've had some really bad fire seasons, and that really compromises summer photography, right? When it's just full of smoke. A little bit of smoke can add to a sunset and sunrise. So on and so forth, but obviously you never hope for smoke. You don't want fires, but we've had a lot of rain, and so there's a lot of flowers up there. It's really beautiful. So I'd love to get a photo of a lynx in lupin. That would just be incredible. I know a lot of animals, you just want to get them in their prime, see them in the rut, but I think lynx are special enough where if you could get them in the summer, it would be, if not an equivalent to what you're seeing in the winter, at just a little level below. And yeah, I'd love to see one for sure. A couple of things on the radar for us. I think Danny mentioned we'd love to see a cougar, but there are a lot of them around the Okanagan. We have a pretty healthy cougar population. That's my understanding based on some recent studies. But that's something I've been trying to do for the longest time, as I'm sure you guys can relate to that. It's really hard to do. So yeah, that's really just getting out there. And I have friends who've seen cougars recently just in the woods around here. So you never know. But again, it could be a quick experience. For me individually too, I'd love to photograph a wolf. So I really worked hard on it this spring. And I saw, I guess it's been, I saw a wolf, two wolves this spring, two separate encounters, but they're 3 to 5 seconds, right? I think an alpha of a pack looked at me, and it was just, I spent 5 days looking for him in the Rockies, and he looked at me, and then he went in the woods. Like I had my camera right there, and I couldn't get it out and get the shot off in time. But I have the memory. But I'd love to get a shot of a wolf. That's really on my mind. And then maybe the most audacious big goal that we're kind of talking about and playing with is wolverine. So, Mark, the Rockies quite well. So yeah, my mom's from Revelstoke. Her family's from Revelstoke, so that's really in the middle of the Rockies. And my dad's from Masuias, and there's just a lot of areas where there's some connection to wolverines. So I've heard of some sightings, and I think it's the kind of thing where you're more or less looking for a carcass out in the woods, a big carcass. And if you can find one, you might be able to find a wolverine then, because they're scavengers, right? So that's definitely on our radar and of interest. And stay tuned. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, keep us posted.
Love that myself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Somebody had an image of what reportedly was like 5 or 6 wolverines in Yellowstone National Park, and I think it was debunked. It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't AI, but I don't think they were wolverines. But there
They were
definitely is
baby skunks.
baby skunks.
I'm joking. I don't know. I didn't even see it.
There's a lot more Wolverine activity in the
Same
park
family.
for sure. Same family.
Yeah.
Close enough
Yeah,
for all.
Yeah, my big lead on it is it's fairly simple, but because I do a ton of research in my spare time, but yeah, my understanding is just that moose carcasses are so massive that if you were fortunate enough to stumble across a moose, or if you researched it and you heard about, oh, there's a moose in this area that was hit or struck or something like that by a vehicle and it's on the side of the road, or there's a fair chance that a wolverine could come, right? Because that's a lot of meat. So we'll see. We haven't really tried for it, but that could be something that would be really, really spectacular. But yeah, in the research I've done, I've heard that actually other carcasses, of course, wolverine will go to them, but they tend to like drag them away and just kind of play with them and move them all over the place. So it's really moose is the ticket. My father saw one in that region, way back when. He pulled over the car and he ran out and it was looking at him. And so, yeah, and I have uncles from around that area too, and they've seen wolverine as well. So fingers crossed. They're so rare.
Hey, pro tip real quick. Not to take away from your moose carcass plan, but the easiest way to turn a skunk into a wolverine is just bump the Kelvin up to about 10,000. Changes the color scheme perfectly.
There's some special photo tools you can use, and they're not available to everybody, but you can, stretch antlers, widen them, stuff like that. You can stretch the body out on them a little bit, and change the face a bit.
We'll be selling those presets this fall.
Yeah, right. The special Beyond the Wild presets coming to you soon.
Oh no!
What are you guys getting into?
Wolverine Gold. That's what we're going to call them.
That's what it's called.
Listen, guys.
All the 3%.
All these giant moose that Mark have. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
I know, Jason. I know.
That moose you shared this morning, Mark,
Isn't that
is
incredible?
Absolutely incredible.
I know.
What a mutant! Oh my goodness!
What a shot! What a bull!
Spectacular.
What a great right after velvet with the blood. I mean, goodness. Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one we were just talking about, Mitch.
Okay. Yeah.
He's stretched.
He's got the moose antler stretcher.
Was the hike involved that day? And yeah, he was.
Yeah, right. I'm sure.
It was an incredible animal.
Hold on.
Shared it with two great friends, and
I'm kidding, Mark.
I know for sure.
Kidding.
Yeah, of course.
I would never take any of that away from you. Yeah.
2 days with that animal. The next day, so it featured that one in the book, and the next day his antlers were no longer red. One day he shed the velvet, and it was all this red residue, and when we found him the next morning, it was probably a mile away from where he was the previous day, but the dew covering all the willows, and part of velvet removal is thrashing their antlers on the willows, and it's also the transition of season, the testosterone spike. So he washed his antlers clean the next day. So I think there's a follow-up picture in the book, but he's one of the top 3 of my life, and and we fell asleep on the tundra, probably 50 yards from when he went into willows, and he went to sleep. It was an amazing day. It was the story with the ravens that found us and were circling over like we were carrion. One of us was supposed to stay awake, right? This is how it goes. But I woke up to 2 guys snoring beside me. So,
were you the one supposed to stay awake?
The problem was I don't think anybody agreed to be the one.
Oh, fair enough. That's usually how those things happen.
There was no announcement, and it was just we'd all had a big hike that day, and yeah, amazing things happen like that, right? And I liken that to your mountain goat story, Mitch. The scene, the effort. This was a multi-day trip and hiking, but the hikes, yeah, it was an incredible find to see an animal like that. And somebody asked on Instagram today the width, and he was only, I swear, I mean, I didn't get to measure his antlers, for those that do, but the world record is like 80 or 82 inches width. So the idea is a 6 foot human can lay down in the antlers, and that obviously the bull's big enough, probably 1,700 pounds can carry a human around. This guy was there, right? Maybe he was an inch or two less than world width record for that species, but it was one of those rare moments in my adventures. So yeah, but yeah, thanks for bringing it up. But yeah, I look forward to seeing your mountain goat images. Those sound spectacular, and wishing you all the best. We feel the energy that you put into it, talking about what you do and the experiences, and also all these conversations tonight. Your love of what you're doing resonates right through. So it's always a treat to hear that so clearly in a person and in somebody you're well experienced in wildlife photography, but you're going with it, right? And it's yeah, it sounds soft in a way, but it warms the heart to hear how you're loving it and the experiences you're doing, but also how ambitious you guys are. So we look forward to keeping tabs on your adventures.
Well, we saw that you guys Mark brought it up and said that you guys were going after the animals and the flowers, and we were like, yeah, well, none of us would be surprised if you guys got it, like, because that's just how hard you guys are going after this stuff, and that's awesome. The passion and the dedication to try to get the target we talk about all the time. Have a target shot you want, and you guys are like taking that to a whole nother level. Like literally, the shot you want, and you're doing everything you can in your power to try to make that happen. So, anyways, it is fun, like Mark said, to watch you guys, and like the dynamic duo over here just going after it and gonna get all these amazing shots. So we're excited we can't wait to see it. We know it's gonna happen. So
yeah, I greatly appreciate that. Honestly, like after Danny and I spent some time together and did some of these experiences, and we started kind of setting some of these goals together, things we wanted to see, lynx being the biggest one. I think we joked in the truck, we're going to be on the Beyond the Wild podcast one day. It's going to happen. So seriously, and we've both talked to each other about that, and I know there's a ton of listeners out there who are doing like amazing photography. There's obviously so many wonderful photographers out there who enjoy the podcast. So thank you so much for this, and to everybody listening, keep grinding, but enjoy it. Like enjoy the moment. Don't be so obsessed about the result that you're getting. Don't take for granted the opportunities you have. Even on the days you get skunked, try to leave with a big grin, because honestly, I do almost always. Just get out there and have fun and appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on.
It's been a pleasure. The skunk days eventually lead up to Wolverine Day. So you just never know. Nobody knows.
Especially with those filters. Throw that in
there. Yeah, keep watching the website, everybody. I don't know what's coming. There's a page maybe in there with some special link. Well, it's been great, Mitch. Thanks for taking the time. It's been wonderful to hear, and keep us in the loop, and maybe someday in the future we ought to have you both on to hear the story of an exceptional experience that has yet to unfold. And the best place for people to see your work is on Instagram, I assume?
Yeah, absolutely. Mitch Decock.
Awesome. And for those of you watching on YouTube, that would have been put across the screen. You can see more of Mitch's images as well on our website, beyondthewildpodcast.com. On today's episode page, you can consult each episode on our website and see more images from the stories and behind the scenes on there, as well as in addition to anything else that's developing with the podcast. Check it out. It's out there. It's a real thing. BeyondTheWildPodcast.com. Thank you to Pictureline for everything you do to support our show and help us to keep going along. Guys, it's always fun to hang out with you both. And Mitch, thanks for joining us today. Look forward to following your adventures to come. Everybody, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. And that's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild Podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA.